Hello, NinjaBear here, and today I wanted to go over an old line in the Open Sicilian. And, well, I say it's an older line. It's a very not popular played line so far that I've been playing on chess.com and Lichess, uh, depending on what format that I plan on playing. But it is a move that goes through an Open Sicilian with e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, and d4. And the thing of as far as d4 goes, a lot of moves can be played here, but d takes is probably the line that goes through equality. What typically after knight takes, I want to say it's e6, is it? Or knight? Okay, knight f is either e6 or knight f3, knight f6. But another line that I wanted to go over that's been giving me some interesting games just rather than going through the same old boring game and spicing it up a bit with some traps and tricks is the immediate d5. And d5 is probably subpar compared to these other moves, knight f6 and e6. But overall, it can give you some interesting games and lead through some interesting developments. With best play, I think I will go over the line that I think white should go for to try to handle or hold an advantage through this line. But first, let's go over the line that I've been seeing a lot on blitz with bishop to b5. Now, with bishop to b5, we're immediately trying to pin the piece, but there's the in-between move, which can do a discovered attack on the knight and an x-ray through the knight, the queen, with d takes e. And d takes e4 allows, if the knight is taken with the bishop, the pawn will go ahead and take, and we'll have ideas of e5. So just to go over through that line, we have ideas of e5 right here with a slight advantage is what the engine evaluates for black. So let's see here. We'll go back. If knight takes, then we'll go into a very nice little quick little line with queen takes, king takes queen, and you have to play a6 through this line. This line is required to have a6 is the only move to be able to maintain equality slash and a very minuscule possible advantage with the two bishops. White can go ahead and give up the two bishops with this line, and white doesn't have the two bishops, I'm sorry. You will win the piece back. I forgot about that line. With you don't take with the bishop, or you don't take the bishop after this line right here because of knight takes bishop. I forgot about that, so I apologize. You wanted to go ahead and take the knight, and white will move back with the bishop. So, and this gives a nice little slight edge for black, in my opinion, with king activity, and pieces are not developed on the board, so there's nothing to really fear as far as being checked and thrown around with checkmates, checking patterns, or checking developments and stuff like that. So overall, I think this is very safe for black and provides a nice space advantage for black. So, like I said, if takes there, typical move is for bishop to move back, and then we want to pin the knight. And with pinning the knight, we are going to win our piece back. And if white plays something like c6, now our knight to c3, we're going to go ahead and just simply take and take, and we're going to have actually potentially a nice strong game for black. So this line, like I said, I've been getting a lot of, I don't know why, but it's an interesting little line, I guess, that some people think as produces a little bit of advantage for white, but I think it just maintains equality. So with d5, the best try, I think, is for pawn takes, which I'm going to go through a white's point of view. Flip the board. And queen takes. After pawn takes, queen takes. And from white's perspective on this, that I feel that gives a good advantage for is first of all, we notice that the knight is under attack. So if the knight moves, then black is going to have a very comfortable game trading queens, and there's not going to be anything developed for white except for a knight. So no matter where the knight moves to, even if the knight moves here to try to threaten for check, then black is going to have, like I said, a comfortable game being able to take. And the bishop can even develop here with castling. So we have a very, very, very comfortable game with black and possibly a small advantage. So best try, I think, is bishop to e3. And from bishop to e3, we're then going to go ahead and play one of two moves that black has to offer. I will briefly go over the knight d6 line. I mean the pawn d6 line. Pawn d6. Oh, I didn't go over this one. Okay. Pawn d6, knight c3, bishop pins. And from here, queen to g4 is recommended. I think this leads to a very sharp tactics for black and white, and can be an interesting game overall. I have not actually went into this line before over the board, as most people do not play bishop to e3, but it's something that I have found, like I said, to be a nice little line for white to be able to pick up for this old line. So that is the bishop, or the d6 line. The line that I want to recommend going through that kind of gives that same struggle, and that I analyzed a little bit deeper, is knight to f6 with knight to c3 line. And where do we place our queen? Our queen is best placed on d5. Now, unfortunately, we could move our queen back as well, which gives us the opportunity to play later, potentially, d5. All right. If knight takes, one of the things we're doing is we're sacrificing the file and giving white plenty of space to play around with in an open position. And black's pieces are not as developed. White's pieces are relatively developed and placed pretty good, and is going to get a third piece developed here soon, with black to have slight problems developing, or not really slight problems developing, but being behind developing. So recommended after this is to move the queen to e5, and then white to develop the bishop. And so black is already slightly behind in development, and white maintains a slight lead in development. With the idea here, there's two lines here that can be recommended. I personally would recommend the queen line if you want to try to keep pieces on the board as much as possible. With the queen line, white can go ahead and play for a potential advantage with pieces on the board. However, if you would like to liquidate slightly here with this pretty much a nice little advantage. Pawn takes knight, queen to f3, and black has to worry about potentially, of course, being under attack with little development. So that's not another line that I recommend for black. What I recommend if knight takes is for bishop to take, and for bishop to take queen to f3 now, and knight to d5. After castles, e6, and black's space in the center is pretty good. After a little bit of liquidation here, we have basically white trying to attack the king side potentially, but black being able to have all of the space over on the queen side against white. So here, much preferred still is white. However, I personally think that black has a strong pawn chain that he will not be castling, and potentially, of course, is going to have problems being able to develop his black square bishop with this pin on the h8 a1 diagonal. But black can go ahead and try with some developing moves, and with best play, looks like black will get shut down. I guess I just discovered something on this line that is a little bit further than what I expected. This line I went through several times, but where was it? Here. No, after here. Oh, after castles. That's what it was. I went through the castles line. So takes. Yeah. It looks like good little try is here. Queen check probably is best. Yeah. Okay, queen check is best. Now black has at least equality. Well, not at least equality. He at least has a slight disadvantage, I would say. But a nice pawn structure overall. And a kingside attack is nothing to scoff at, but that pawn chain is just awesome, is all I gotta say. King moves. Now bishop develops. And h4. Try to trade queens. And notice that white can't grab a pawn here because the rook will be able to develop. So, which will give away the advantage. So, now white can take the pawn. And it looks like black has or white has a pawn up and black has a pawn down. So this line, I wouldn't say has necessarily been refuted over the board here through my analysis, but might require further analysis, which gives me, like I said, a good way that I think that the best line was that bishop e3 line for white to be able to take care of this right here is my conclusion. Best line is bishop e3. And probably best play is d6, going through some of these lines with a sharp tactical play. And this line would be fun to analyze. Definitely fun to analyze. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video and I get at least 10 views from it, I will probably go over this line right here specifically. So that would be the open Sicilian D5 line, knight F3, knight C6, knight takes D, D5 line. So there you have it, another open Sicilian video that you've probably been interested in. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this inspires you to play different types of games, and maybe if you run across this, of course, give me a shout out. I'm NinjaBear on Lee Chess or chess.com. Thanks.